Well, hello, Frontline. My name's Chris Gillies. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the independent trustee on the Frontline board. And today we're in Mark chapter 13, verses 28 to 37. An old friend, Steve Hebden, says that Jesus wants lerts. That's what this passage is all about, and more of that later. The context is that Jesus has gone up to the Mount of Olives with his disciples to have a private conversation, and they've asked him a bunch of questions about the end times, which were written about through the Old Testament scriptures in Isaiah and Daniel and Ezekiel and Zechariah and one or two other places. And Jesus has just explained to them in the verses preceding our passage what will happen during those end times before he returns. And in today's passage, he teaches about a fig tree as a metaphor for the signs of the times. But then he goes on to say that no one, not even Jesus himself, knows the day or the hour when he will return. Only the Father knows. The Bible's full of signposts and hints and promises and glimpses of what might happen in the end. But it's also a bit of a mystery, since those signposts, hints, promises and glimpses lack specificity. They're often expressed at a high level or through metaphoric language. It's a bit like the daffodils and roses in my garden. They're signs of summer, but when the daffodils first came out in March, I knew it was spring, I knew that summer was coming. And when those roses started blooming in early May, I knew that summer was just around the corner. But at that time, I couldn't have told you that Wednesday, the 20th of May, was going to be the first day I could wear shorts. So why does Jesus tell his disciples about the end times? Well, firstly, because they asked. And of course, after his death, resurrection and ascension, the answers he gave will have taken on a whole extra layer of significance. Secondly, because there will be a generation who are going to live through these times, see the signs, endure the tribulation, and will be alive when Jesus returns. And it's helpful for that generation to know about it. Third, for all the generations from Adam through to us in the present day, it's important that we know the end of the story. That God restores, renews, and puts right everything that went wrong as a result of human selfishness, and that Jesus returns to the renewed earth to be with his bride, the church. So Jesus tells the story of the doorkeeper, and he says to his disciples, "Stay awake." This has real poignancy because just a few days later, he asks the disciples to keep watch while he prays in the Garden of Gethsemane, and they fall asleep. But this word, to stay awake, to be watchful, is also a word for us. Now, we all know that humans need to sleep well if we're to function properly. So what does this really mean? How should we live in the light of Jesus' exhortation to stay awake? Well, the clue is in the Greek word that's used here. When Jesus says to his disciples, "Stay awake," twice in this little passage, he uses, or the word agrippneo is used. Agrippneo is the Greek for being watchful. And it crops up quite a few times in the New Testament, mostly when Jesus is teaching in stories and parables like this one, but also in Acts and in the letters, where his disciples have had a chance to process what Jesus taught them. They've seen him be crucified, come back to life, and ascend to be with the Father. The Holy Spirit has filled them, and they've had a chance to make sense of all the things that Jesus taught. Agrippneo means stay awake, keep watch, or be alert. And when we see that word in Acts and the epistles, it's generally accompanied by some instruction to the church on how to live. In Acts 20, it's about working hard, helping the weak, and being generous. In 1 Corinthians 16, it's about standing firm in our faith and doing everything in love. In 1 Peter 5, it's about resisting the schemes of the devil and standing firm in our faith. And in Ephesians 6, it's about resisting the schemes of the devil, putting on the armour of God, and persevering. My old friend Steve Hebden says that Jesus wants alerts. Let's be alert. Let's be alert for Jesus. The doorkeeper's job was to stay awake all night. Our job is to stand firm in our faith, love God, love our neighbour generously, resisting the schemes of the devil with the help of the armour of God, and, whatever the circumstances we find ourselves in today, persevering. Have a great day.